She said her boss was like family. Then I caught them in room 1012. The first thing I noticed wasn't the perfume on my shirt or the way Maya's laugh had started to sound like it needed a witness. It was a hotel keycard wedged between the passenger seat and the console, pale blue with the riverfront logo stamped in silver. When I held it up, it flashed one word I'd been married long enough to mistrust: welcome. "Where'd you get this?" I asked that night, tossing the card onto the kitchen island. Maya slid a pan off the heat, shoulders bare under one of my old t-shirts, hair up and affectionate. "The Riverside. That's from a client meet," she said. "They validate parking with those now." She kissed my cheek, a soft punctuation mark, and the keycard skittered to the floor like it had decided to save me the trouble of believing it. I'm a lighting designer. I make rooms tell the truth even when people won't. It's a weird job for a man who likes shadows. Maya handles PR for people who want their messes to look like confetti. We'd always fit, me building the stage, her filling it with applause. The week after the keycard, I got a call from the Riverside asking if I could pinch hit on a rooftop gala, string lights, warm wash, a little clandestine magic for donors who like to feel like they discovered the night. When I told Maya, she lifted one eyebrow. "That's the one my boss is obsessed with," she said. "He loves pretending the skyline is a prop." "Which boss?" I asked like I didn't already know. "Harlan," she said, and rolled her eyes so theatrically I wanted to pay admission. "He's like family." That's what you say about someone you don't want questioned. Like family is shorthand for don't ask. The afternoon of the install, I was on a scissor lift, coaxing a cable through stubborn rafters when I saw her below, a strip of green silk in a field of black suits. The dress was simple until she moved. Then it learned vocabulary I'd forgotten existed. She didn't see me. She was walking beside Harlan Tan, 50, teeth like a well-funded nonprofit, and he put a hand at the small of her back the way owners touch expensive cars. Maya flicked the hand away, polite as a hostess removing a fly from a drink. She texted me an hour later, "You here?" I looked down from the ledge and saw her turning in a slow circle, looking for light. "Sound check at 8, I wrote back, and she sent a heart, the lazy kind you throw like a frisbee when you're already on another field. Sierra found me after sunset. She was the choreographer for the 3-minute surprise. Dance Harlan wanted the donors to pretend they hadn't been warned about in the invite. She had dancer posture, soft where softness sells trust, steel where it keeps you upright, and a smile that asked if I was having fun yet. "You're the light guy," she said, shading her eyes like my rig was a sun. "Ethan," I said, "I make rich people look like they know where they left things." "Sierra," she said, taking my hand like a promise. "I need a dimmer at the start like a confession, and then that big warm wash when we hit the downbeat. You know the one." "I know the one," I said. "I've been married to it once." We timed the cues. She stood under a string of bulbs and raised her arms, watching the light kiss her skin and decide not to leave. When she dropped her hands, they brushed my forearm. Not an accident, not a claim. Just a reminder that current flows even when the switch is off. "You have someone?" she asked later, eyes on the river pretending not to be curious. "My wife," I said, and the word came out like I'd loaned it to someone who hadn't returned it. The donors started arriving, all linen and opinions. I cued the wash and made the skyline applaud. Sierra slipped into the dance with 2 other performers and a grin like electricity. Maya was on the far side, headset on, laugh bright, the dress pretending not to be working hard. Harlan floated from cluster to cluster, dispensing cleverness like mints. When the dance hit the downbeat and the lights swelled, the room did the thing I love most. It believed. During a lull, Sierra caught my sleeve. "For calibration," she said, "help me with a test." The floor was empty, a rare private island. I set the levels low, chestnut amber, and stepped onto the wood. She put one hand on my shoulder and one in my palm. We moved to a rhythm that wasn't a song so much as remembering one. Forward turn, breath near ear. It was strictly rated PG to anyone watching, but every nerve had a camera crew. "Not bad, light guy," she murmured. "Not a dancer," I said, which wasn't exactly true. "You feel like one," she said, and when I glanced up I saw Maya watching us from across the crowd, expression unreadable, headset tilted like an unasked question. She turned away before the song in my head ended. I found her by the bar 10 minutes later, pretending to be amused by a man who needed an audience. "Jealous," she whispered when I leaned in to ask if she'd eaten. "I'm curious," I said. "About the choreographer. About why your boss's hand keeps losing directions." She smiled without warmth. "Don't make this night about you." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Room 1012 after the board leaves. Same as last time. Bring the Pinot and the good mouth." A beat later, another text. "God, I meant mood. Stupid autocorrect." I stared until the words went blurry. The name under the number stayed blank. What didn't was the room. My work didn't need me for 20 minutes. The rooftop had turned into a diorama. The city, the donors, the dance of pretending. I took the service elevator down, past banquet carts and the quiet of places where parties are staged. The 10th floor corridor smelled like new carpet and money. Outside 1012, a room service tray waited with 2 emptied flutes and a plate where strawberries had been more than decoration. On the napkin, a smear of green lipstick, Maya's brand, a shade she called Glory because the first time she wore it I told her I'd follow it anywhere. I wasn't going to knock. That was the plan. Walk away, do the job, ask later. But my knuckles had their own biography. 2 taps light, a test of material. Harlan opened the door as if he'd been waiting for air. His shirt was unbuttoned at the throat, tan still rich under hotel bulbs. He took me in without surprise. When you're a man like Harlan, all doors open themselves. "Evan," he said, "or sorry, Ethan." "It's my name," I said and looked past him. Maya stood by the window, back to us, hands braced on the sill, the city laying itself out like an apology she hadn't asked for. The green dress looked less like velvet now and more like a negotiation. She didn't turn. "We can talk later," she said. "I think now is good," I said, stepping over the threshold I'd never wanted to know the weight of. Harlan lifted his palms in a fleshy peace sign. "Let's be adults," he said, which is what people say when they've already decided what children should learn from the evening. "Let be honest," I said. Maya turned. Her lipstick was perfect. The napkin's smear could have been anybody's. Her cheeks were flushed in a way that could have been anger, champagne, or both. She looked at me like there was a script and I was late to rehearsal. "It isn't what it looks like," she said, and the universe laughed somewhere I couldn't see. "Then what is it?" I asked, hearing my voice do the thing good microphones do, hold without breaking. "A meeting where a man twice my age thought a contract came with extra services," she said crisply. "A meeting where I was handling it." "Handling it," Harlan said. "Please. We were having a drink and talking about what it takes to build trust. Your wife understands the game. She wants her client happy." He smiled the way people do when they're sure they invented consent. "Do you want this?" I asked Maya, and the room shrank to the size of her eyes. I didn't ask if she had already wanted it. The text was at my hip like a siren. I wanted the account, she said. I wanted to be good at something that isn't us. The second sentence landed between us like a bird that had flown into glass. Harlan chuckled. You can scold each other later. Ethan, light guy, why don't you go wire the afterglow while grown-ups make grown-up decisions? I stepped closer to him, just enough that he could smell the rooftop on me. Eucalyptus from a donor's boutonniere, the salt of July, the metal of cables and restraint. Here's the thing, I said. I am the grown-up decision. I'm your lighting and your sound and your miracle that makes expensive people forgive themselves for a few hours. Tomorrow, when my invoice hits your desk, your event will still look like a cathedral in photographs. But if you touch my wife again without a yes, I will light your office like a police station for the rest of your career. Do you understand the difference? He took a half step back, then remembered the performance. Drama, he said. No wonder the visuals are good. Maya's hand was on the back of the chair, whitening her knuckles. Please go, she told him, and when he hesitated she picked up her clutch and tossed it into his chest like a small, expensive gauntlet. He left with a snort and the self-assurance of someone who's never had to say he's sorry. When the door clicked, the quiet wasn't relief. It was a room with one truth left in it, and it was ours. Did you sleep with him? I asked. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't put a knot in it that I would have to untie later. I just placed the question down between us like a glass. She closed her eyes for one beat, too. When she opened them, she didn't bother to invent a new word. Once, she said, months ago, before the key card, I told myself it was leverage. I told myself I was leveling the field. I told myself we were fine and I just needed to breathe. I have lied to you exactly the way I hate being lied to, and I am so tired of the smell of it on me. There are sentences that take a room apart politely. That one did demolition like ballet. I stared at her. She didn't look away. Her chin shook just once like a bridge taking a truck. I almost kissed Sierra tonight, I said. If we were throwing furniture onto the lawn, let it all go. Maya's mouth ticked in a humorless half-smile. The choreographer. I saw your face when she touched your sleeve. It looked like Summer got your number. I didn't, I said. We danced and I remembered being a person and then I remembered you. Both felt true. She stepped toward me, then stopped like she'd reached the edge of a stage. I don't deserve the version of you who tells me that, she said. I don't know if I deserve the version who doesn't. I don't have versions, I said. I have one very confused man who loves you and is terrible at sharing. She laughed, wet and sharp, and for a second I could see the girl from the open mic where we met, in a black dress that had cost more than I could afford, reciting other people's poems like her mouth was a church. What do we do? She asked. We don't decide it in a hotel where you just told me you slept with your boss, I said. We go finish the night we promised to make beautiful for people who will never know what it cost. Then we go home and we open every window we've nailed shut. Okay, she whispered. When she reached for me, I didn't flinch. I let her press her forehead to my collarbone. Her hands slid up my arms and rested at the sides of my neck, thumbs at my jaw like she was framing me, soft, not a grip. There was heat in the room and history, and a kind of reverence you don't get to rehearse. I kissed her hairline and felt her breathe like someone who'd been underwater too long. We can't, she started. I know, I said. YouTube would redact the part of the story where we remembered the exact weight of the other's body. So we didn't. We stood there until our heartbeats admitted they were related, and then we smoothed our clothes back into versions that strangers recognize. I lit the rest of the gala like a promise I wouldn't break. Sierra took her bows with the kind of smile that's generous because something in it hurts. When the last donor had their ride share rescue them from the night, I wound the cables while Maya returned radios and found her own voice in a staff hallway. "Thursday," she said when the elevator doors closed on just us. "I can be anywhere but here by Thursday, if you want space." "I want honesty," I said, "and I want the eucalyptus out of the living room. It's making me narrate." She laughed, real this time, and the elevator seemed to approve. We slept in different rooms for a while. You can be married and still write letters, which is what we did. Notes on the fridge in a handwriting that remembered gentleness. Texts that didn't pretend there weren't ghosts in the house, but refused to feed them. I took runs at weird hours. She cooked elaborate things and invited silence to dinner. I didn't see Harlan again except in a glossy magazine where he thanked his team for making philanthropy look good. The key card lived in my desk like a memorial. I hadn't figured out how to visit. Sierra texted me once, "How's the light?" I wrote back, "Learning dimmer curves." She sent a heart and a photo of the river that didn't try to explain itself. A month later, I met Maya on the same rooftop, off the clock. The city was different because we were. She wore a white shirt that made everything else blow its cover. We didn't kiss right away. We didn't make speeches. We danced to a song only we could hear, my palm at her back where no one owned anything, her breath at my neck the way a familiar place breathes you in. "Do you hate me?" she asked into my shoulder. "I hate that we got so far from the honest version," I said. "I don't know if we get back. I want to try." She nodded against me. "Me too," she said, and the way her fingers threaded with mine felt like a lock realizing the right key had been in the same room the whole time. We didn't write rules. We wrote a list of things we refused to do. Don't weaponize the truth. Don't borrow a body to fix a story. Don't mistake attention for love. On Thursdays, we went for late swims at the public pool and watched the lights wobble on the water like they were practicing being stars. Some nights we came home and only pressed our foreheads together in the kitchen while the kettle thought about boiling. Some nights we forgot we were supposed to be careful and remembered we were allowed to be alive. I still design rooms for people who want to look better than the truth. I make the light flattering because sometimes mercy is a kind of honesty too. If I catch Maya looking at the skyline like it owes her something, I step behind her and fold my arms around her waist and let the city prove us wrong again. When she laughs, the sound doesn't need an audience. The Riverside sent me a new key card in the mail last week. Client retention, a perk, a customer loyalty scheme that would be funny if it weren't, in a way, our whole story. I slid it into a drawer beside the old one and thought about doors and thresholds, and the soft thud a heart makes when it decides to stay in a house where it once considered packing. Sierra's show opens next month in a small theater with terrible seats and excellent air. I'll go with Maya and we'll clap until our palms sting, and afterward Sierra will hug me and look over my shoulder at my wife and say with a grin, "You two look like you found the dimmer curve." We did. It's not a switch. It's a slow, stubborn slide towards something that lets you see and be seen without either of you pretending you're not the same people who once stood in a hotel room and told the truth only because there was nothing left to sell. I won't tell you we're cured. Love isn't medicine, it's choreography. You practice the steps until the floor forgives you. And sometimes, when the music gets good and the light goes warm and the city decides it's on your side, the person you almost lost puts her hand in yours and reminds you that faithful, like family, means less when you say it and more when you show it.